Here we go. Tony Bobinski, a whistleblower who was a former business partner of Hunter Biden, told Fox News' host Tucker Carlson on Tuesday that Jim Biden, the brother of Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden, told him that Joe Biden would not be hurt by their foreign business dealings because of plausible deniability. You know, there's those big air quotes again, plausible deniability. Bobinski says that he met with Joe Biden at a conference and that he met afterwards with Jim Biden for 2 hours at the Peninsula Hotel, where Jim Biden walked through his own history. In his own words, starting with all the work and effort he did to get Joe Biden elected initially in Delaware, and then through the family history and the roles that he had played. Bobinski also said that he was skeptical of what was going on because of his high-level security clearance as a military official and his knowledge about needing to report gifts. And I'm thinking about the Biden family, like, how are they doing this? I know Joe decided not to run in 2016, but what if he ran in the future? Aren't they taking political risks or headline risk? Bobinski continued. And I remember looking at Jim Biden and saying, how are you guys getting away with this? Like, aren't you guys concerned? Bobinski also said right afterwards, he looked at me and laughed a little bit and said, plausible deniability. So there you have it. You know, a Biden is basically protecting the Bidens, which, okay, brotherly love, I can see that. But with Hunter Biden's dealings in Ukraine and the Biden's dealings in China, that is a direct threat to the United States, a direct threat to our economy, through our sovereignty, through everything that we stand for, because we are opening the floodgates potentially of having China basically dictate our economy, dictate our government. If you stand for that, you are what's wrong with this country. You are allowing others to dictate how we govern ourselves. I don't want to be like China. Most of China is poor. China has slave laborers. Yes, slave laborers. They get paid pennies a day. They work in sweatshops. They are underage children putting your Nikes together. But you're okay with that. In other news, and this is from CNN, so, you know, I'm going to have to put my spin on it, quote unquote spin. But the Texas Supreme Court on yesterday, ruled in favor of Republican Governor Greg Abbott's order to limit mail-in ballot drop box locations to one site per county. Let's think about that. And this decision has largely affected the Houston and Austin areas. Okay, so Harris County is a pretty big county. Houston alone has 4 million people. Just in Houston, the metro area, which includes areas like Katy, Texas, the Woodlands, Springs, Friendswood, Sugarland, Pearland, Landland, you know, all of those mysterious Mo City, you know, Mo City Dawn type thing. Harris County is all of that. It's about 7 million people. And there is one Dropbox location. People are right away saying voter suppression. And I'm sure you can figure out which side is claiming voter suppression. That's right, it's the left. It's the Democratic left side saying that they are being suppressed since they have to drive to a mail-in ballot Dropbox location that has just one Dropbox location. So heaven forbid I drive from Katy the hour to the Harris County location, which is somewhere in the middle of downtown Houston. I haven't looked it up personally, but I know where it's going to be because that's where everything is. It's a 45-minute drive. Okay. More than one ways you can get there. There's Uber. Houston is loaded with Uber. I know. I drive it pretty regularly. You've got the metro if you need to get there. You've got a car, maybe. You know someone with a car. There are ways to get there. Now, the mail-in drop-off ballot box is specifically for mail-in votes and absentee votes. If you're using those two services, you're supposed to not be there on November 3rd. I can promise you there's going to be a line at that drop box location on November the 3rd. I'm going to be working the polls myself on November the 3rd, and I can't wait to see what the line looks like in person voting. So if you're complaining about having to wait in line or drive an hour, 45 minutes, 10 minutes to one Dropbox location, well, that absentee vote that you're supposed to be submitting because you're absent or you're going to be absent on November 3rd, you shouldn't even be there to begin with. You're telling the state that you're not going to be home that day and you can't, or that you don't have the capabilities to go stand in line and vote. Okay, I can get it. I understand. You may not be able to. I get that. Some people aren't. There are literally millions of Dropbox locations in Harris County. You have one. You have your own personal Dropbox. It's called your mailbox. If you don't trust that box specifically, there are these blue boxes all along the city. You can also go in and drop your box there. Now, if let's put a litmus test to this. Consider putting $500 cash in one of those boxes and mailing it to yourself. Would you trust that it would get back? If you don't trust that you would get that $500 back, then you probably wouldn't want to do a mail-in ballot anyway. Since voter suppression is happening and people are ripping up ballots or looking at the ballots and destroying them, when in all actuality, every single case of voter suppression when it comes to ballot destruction has been against President Trump and the Republican Party. The Democrats have been seen to that. But if you don't trust the postal system to get you your $500 cash that you mailed yourself, then go stand in line. Early voting is going on right now. It's almost done because November 3rd is here. It's less than a week away. Go figure. It's been going on since early October. You've had plenty of time. There was a case in Florida where at the last 20 minutes, the website for early voting registration went down. Now, I'll tell you what happened. People were automatically claiming voter suppression. The people who were claiming voter suppression, and I had a discussion with one myself, were primarily left-leaning Democrats because they were claiming that in the last few minutes, of the last 20 minutes, they should have had the structure, the system to be able to withhold or to withstand millions of people going on and voting and registering to vote. They're claiming systemic oppression. Well, yeah, it is systemic oppression when something like that happens, as in the system, the computer system cannot take the barrage of people who are procrastinating, waiting until the last minute to get something done. Now, understand there are deadlines, and deadlines are hard lines. You can't go past a certain deadline. However, as someone who has employed people myself, if I give somebody a deadline, I push them to meet that deadline prior to the deadline or meet that goal, specifically in car sales. If someone had a goal of 15 cars for that month, I would push them to have 15 cars out by the 20th. Don't miss your end of the month goal by what you did at the beginning of the month. And the same concept works here. Don't wait until the last minute. If you wait until the last minute and something happens, that's on you. There's no reason why you couldn't take months and months. In fact, registering to vote, sometimes that's open for 2 years. Sometime in that 2 years, in the most heated election period in history, sometimes in that 2 years, you could have gone in and registered to vote. Sometimes in this 1 month process, few weeks process of dropping off your ballot at a mailbox, you're going to be near the Houston area to drop your ballot off, or take it to the ballot that is at the end of your driveway, that's hanging on your door, that's in a group of other boxes at your apartment complex, or take it to one of the big blue boxes you see on the side of the road with these big, huge locks on them. They're secure. Or do what millions of other Americans are doing. Go stand in line. And if you get it done during early voting, you can be in and out of there within 30 minutes. If that, you can go on your lunch break. How important is it? Is voting so important that you wait till the last minute and you're gone all day from work, possibly missing childcare? Or is it so important that you're going to make sure it gets done, so you're going to go early? And you're going to make sure that your ballot gets picked or submitted. That's up to you. I can't make your choice for you. I can't tell you to not procrastinate. And then if you procrastinate, something happens. Something inevitably happens when you procrastinate. And it's not just voting. It's anything. It's life in general. If you wait till the last minute to go to work, you might need to go stop and put gas that day. Or you might run into a traffic jam that day, as opposed to maybe leaving 30 minutes early to make sure you get there on time and prepare for the unexpected. The Boy Scouts have a saying, always be prepared. Same concept. Always be prepared. Go a little early. Don't wait until the last minute to vote. And make sure your vote is counted. So here's another report that it was out yesterday. The Senate is adjourned until after the elections without a stimulus deal. Here's when the remaining CARES Act benefits expire. The position on that headline is stating they stayed long enough to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett, but as soon as they got that done, they left. It's the Senate's fault. It's the Republicans' fault the CARES Act isn't happening, which is false. It's a lie. That should be taken down for false information. But I know Google and Twitter and Facebook and any other deity out there, digital deity out there, we'll put it that way, they're going to claim the protections of Section 230, which gives them the right to take down what is objectionable, and they're going to say that this isn't objectionable. But what they aren't telling you is Senate has pushed forward and tried to get it done. They have submitted negotiations to Nancy Pelosi, who has not negotiated. She has put in there in the CARES Act, everything, the HEROES Act, I should say. She has put in there everything that she wants, including the Green New Deal. She has put in post office funding and basically a lot of stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the coronavirus. So who's at real fault here? But what they're also not telling you is, and I'm pulling up the calendar right now, is that Congress, the House of Representatives, isn't there. In fact, they've been gone for 3 weeks. Here's what their calendar says. And I'm going back to September, October, November. I take that back. This is their 4th week gone for quote unquote district work. What kind of district work could they be doing right now? Well, I see Representatives Al Green and Sheila Jackson Lee making a big scene, huge, about COVID testing sites. They're going to churches and they're going to different community spots. and offering free testing. And okay, I can see that. I can appreciate that some. But they're not doing it out of service. They're doing it out of campaigning. There's a big difference. That's like the person who goes to feed the homeless people and takes pictures of themselves feeding homeless people and posts it all over social media of them. You get the point? They're not doing it out of service. They're doing it out to get recognized. And it's annoying seeing those two candidates specifically. And I haven't seen them do anything in the other 2 years of this term, except, a fake impeachment trial and lying about how much an AR-15 weighs. I've seen that, but these two representatives have been out and just doing things in big groups. That's it, big groups. I got to do some campaigning with Johnny T this last weekend. Really and truly, the results were kind of eye-opening. We ran into quite a few people that saw what they were doing, that were Democrats, but he won their vote because he was actually out there speaking to them individually. There's a big thing. There's a big difference in getting recognized and actually doing some work, pounding the pavement, knocking on doors, which is what we did. Well, we didn't knock on the one door where this big old huge Roddy that probably just wanted to play, but he came running and barked at the gate. So yeah, we avoided that door. But the results were kind of eye-opening. Back to this calendar. This article insinuates that Senate is gone. They adjourned. They did their job of nominating and they did their job of confirming Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and they left. That's what they're saying. That's all they did, and they left. But Congress, Nancy Pelosi, who is refusing to negotiate anything with the COVID relief bill, she won't even talk to Donald Trump. She hasn't talked to him since the State of the Union address, the one where she ripped up his speech. Childish move. So they've been gone. This is the 4th week they're gone. And scrolling back on their calendar, prior to that, they worked for 5 weeks. Committee work, votes, a week of votes. But prior to that, they had 5 weeks off for district work. So let's talk about that for a little bit. These people are getting paid $174,000 a year, minimum. They have full benefits. And if they've been there longer than 5 years, they get that for the rest of their lives. They're vested after 5 years. 5 weeks off, 5 weeks on, and they're scheduled for another 5 weeks off. This is the 4th week, and they've got another week after this, which is the election period. Okay, I get that one. I can give them that one. But that's 10 weeks in 1 year that they aren't in Washington, D.C. working. They're campaigning, raising more money for their campaigns, and going out making these little videos of them talking to people in groups and feeding the homeless, because that's what they do. They really don't care. The Democratic Party really does not care about the people. They care about the people's vote. So they're making it look good. But they're working 5 weeks on, and then the 5 weeks on either side of that 5 weeks, they're off. How many of you would love that schedule? I mean, that's 10 weeks in the span of 3 months. 10 weeks off. These are the people that want to take away fracking, oil field work. So let me ask you, oil field workers, how would you feel? Would you like it if you made $174,000 a year and took 10 weeks off in 1 year? I know I would. That would be awesome. If I was off 10 weeks in a year, I wouldn't be working. I wouldn't have a job. But these people are the people that we are electing over and over and over again. And we're not learning. We're not learning that these people are corrupt. There is no way you can be in there 30, 40, heck, even 10 years and not have influence from different sources providing you money. How can you, a representative making $174,000 a year, become a millionaire in just a few years? Especially if they're working 10 weeks off. It's crazy. I want that job. In fact, I'm going to try to get that job, but I'm going to try to fix that. That's absurd. There's no reason why they should be staying at home for 10 weeks in the span of 3 months while we are in the middle of a pandemic and while we are fighting for a bill that the Republicans are blocking. No, the Democrats are blocking. The Republican Party has sent out proposals, has sent out negotiations, but they're not being met at all. They're being ignored. So look at it. Go look at actually majorityleader.gov/calendar. majorityleader.gov/calendar. It shows some times in there that they do work. I see that, but look at all the times that they don't work. Those are listed as district work period. In other words, they're at home, they're campaigning and fishing and doing all that good stuff. I tell you one thing that I'm really excited about today, and this is coming from CNN Business. CEOs of Facebook, Twitter, and Google set to be grilled in Senate hearing. Thank freaking goodness. It's about time. You see, back in the early 90s, there was a section of the Constitution or the amendment, or however you want to label it. But there was a law passed called Section 230. Early 90s is the time when the message boards started coming out. I was a techie back then. We used to use PHPBB, and bulletin boards, message groups, forums, that type of thing. You can go online, and if you found a common group, it's similar to what Facebook groups are, but it's more threaded. But if you found a similar group like paranormal investigators, you can go in and start a community with them, or people who liked cars, specifically Miatas. If you found a community with Miatas, you can join this group on that. And inevitably, there was going to be some questionable materials posted on there in the comments. You see, different websites, they couldn't control all the time who commented what or who published what. So they weren't the publishers at that point in time, but they were presenting the information. They could take the information down. They could let it stand. It was their call. But who was responsible for that? Was timsmiataforum.com responsible for somebody posting child pornography on there by some spam bot? No, they had no control. So Section 230 allowed these entities to remove objectionable. And I say air quotes. You see me doing that a lot. But air quotes on the objectionable. Because if that was something that was a violation of somebody's rights, understandably, let's remove it. But what counts as objectionable? This is where the line gets grayed out. I personally believe in the freedom of speech. So do these guys too. But they are right now suppressing and altering the election results. They are acting like what they said, Russia collusion. Russia was interfering with elections when in fact Google, Facebook, Twitter, and whistleblowers from Facebook have actually come out with videos to Project Veritas confirming this, confirming a left-wing agenda. But the way that I can explain this best is they're immune to do whatever they want because of that Section 230. I personally believe that objectionable, since objectionable is so subjective, I can make it mean whatever I want it to mean. Objectionable should be changed to illegal. You don't want to see murder on there. You don't want to see people being beheaded. You don't want to see child porn. Obviously not. We don't want to see that, and it should be removed. However, when I have one group of people saying that Judge Amy Coney Barrett was not qualified to do a job, on the left side, I see that stay up for a while, but I see people on the right side posting pro Amy Coney Barrett and getting a card on Facebook placed over that graphic saying, this hasn't been verified. That type of thing. You know, Twitter basically banned the New York Post or New York Times. I forget which one, but they banned those whenever they came out with the Hunter Biden report, saying that they came out with hacked data. No, it wasn't hacked. It was abandoned. That data on that hard drive was property of the computer shop owner that was fixing it. Yet that site is banned. Twitter even locked down Donald Trump's campaign site. How can they get away with it? That is blatant interference in the elections. They are choosing what they let people see. It's their choice. They're in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, the home of Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. You starting to see the picture there? Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Google. They are there, so they get to choose what we see. I say get away with the algorithm. Let it go. Go away. Let us see real time what's happening and monitor what is being published to make sure it's not illegal. But no, they want to monitor. They want to monitor what we post and what we see, so they can make money. Is what it amounts to. Facebook, Google, and Twitter uses their algorithm to place their business ads and to place their sponsored ads based off of what we clicked like on earlier, what we say that this little thing right in here's, they serve us that data. They want that left side agenda because it gives them more power. So you see where I'm getting there now? It's all about the left side agenda, and the left is right because orange man bad. Orange is sus. Kind of see how it's tying in here. But today, Twitter, Facebook, and Google CEOs are set to be grilled, and I can't wait to see the replay on that. I will be at work while it happens, so I'll have to catch it on the flip side. So under Section 230, interactive computer services are considered legally separate from the users who generated their content. They can't be said to publish or speak the words of their users in practice. Courts have repeatedly accepted Section 230 as a clear defense of claims of defamation, negligence, and other allegations. If I commit defamation of character, it's my fault. It's not Facebook's or Twitter's. Okay, I see that. I can get that. But that same Section 230 also gives them the ability to let some defamation go and take some defamation off. Does that make sense? All three CEOs in their prepared remarks tried to hammer home the importance of Section 230 to their business, and that diminishing it would result in more content takedowns. So they are threatening to not be a place where we can speak freely. This is where it gets a little fishy and a little hairy again. Because Facebook, Google, and Twitter, they could say that they're owned, and they can go the route that Walmart went and said, if you don't wear a mask, you are trespassing. They could do that, and they're threatening to do that, even though they're all publicly traded, if I'm not mistaken, so they're owned by the public now, so they are public companies. They're not private companies anymore. I can go buy Facebook stock, I can buy Google stock, I got to check on Twitter, I don't remember right off, but so they are open and bound to the laws of the public. They have already set their platform up to an open forum. Anyone can join. It is a public space of speaking is what it is. They aren't schools. They aren't private places, private clubs where I have to pay a membership fee. They are open public speaking places. And any suppression of any post takedowns that aren't illegal are suppression of our First Amendment rights. Now, question is, will this video get taken down? My name is Andrew Alvarez, and I'm the Latino Conservative.